Goosebumps, Courage the Cowardly Dog, that episode of SpongeBob where they think they've killed the health inspector and they try to hide the body. Iconic shows in their own right, but they're dark, and they're made to be so. It's strange, I find it to be anyways, that shows mainly made for the audience of children would exist with the purpose of being unsettling, or even in some cases, horrifying. But that's not to say that I do not have an understanding. These shows come with charm. Well, maybe not charm, but a feeling. The same way I can remember the feeling I had when I went to see my first football game. I can remember the feeling of staying up past my bedtime to watch Goosebumps for the first time. It was the feeling of being somewhere I shouldn't be, while watching something I shouldn't be watching, like a secret kept between me and the TV. Watching a dark children's show is like stumbling upon a shed at the back of an old person's garden, where the vines have overgrown and hidden it across the years. This is especially true with shows that normally take on an unharming presence, but decide to delve into darker topics for a specific episode. For example, the episode Ruthless Tommy from the Rugrats, in which it, a kids show, features a kidnapping. Something that I imagine is a genuine fear for the majority of children. It's prone to catching you off guard because it's not what you expected to be experiencing when you put the show on. So what is a familiar setting and one you're comfortable with is shifted when you find a deeper layer, a hidden area. That's what it felt like to me anyways. So why is it we have this infinity towards dark children's content, and why do we keep creating so much of it? Well, you see, there's a history to it, and that's going to be our starting point for today. So sit back and enjoy. Morality. Principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong. Between good and bad behaviour. It's something you would like to believe that you had instilled into you by the time it comes to making conscious decisions. But how do we get these ideas? And how do we get the idea of morality presented to us? Well, there's always been one way. Through stories. Now these things go back for as long as we know. They're referred to as parables. A parable is a didactic story. Didactic being a term which means created to inform. Now, a good starting point for parables would be what is known as Jesus' parables. Jesus' parables take up about a third of the teachings that Jesus offered. They're short stories. They're simple enough in nature as if they're built to be remembered. And they're built this way because they're meant to represent a message. And though they set the basis for the term parable, they're not something I particularly want to talk about in too much detail. What I would rather discuss is a spooky little German book known as Der Struwwelpeter, or in English, Shockhead Peter. I probably didn't say the German one correctly. Der Struwwelpeter belongs to a type of parable known as a cautionary tale. I can't express my love for this book enough. It was written in 1845 in Germany by Heinrich Hoffmann, and he wrote and illustrated the book in response to his belief that there wasn't enough good children's books. Now the book consisted of 10 separate stories, each involving children, and exist clearly to show the consequences of misbehaviour. These stories act simply to tell children not to do things, and how not to act. It's the original fictional wolf in sheep's clothing. It's presented to children as a storybook for enjoyment, but little do they know the whole time, they're learning. And they're learning how to act with morality. The stories are short and they all rhyme, and honestly they're unsettling, especially when linked with the aesthetic of the drawings. I could tell you about the stories, but thankfully the book was written in 1845, so it belongs in public domain, so bugger it, I'll read you one. This one is known as Cruel Frederick. Here is Cruel Frederick, see, a wicked, wicked boy was he. He caught the flies, poor little things, and then tore off their tiny wings. He killed the birds and broke the chairs, and threw away the kitten down the stairs. And oh, far worse than all beside, he whipped his Mary till she cried. The trough was full, and faithful Tray came out to drink one sultry day. He wagged his tail and wet his lip, when cruel Fred snatched up a whip, and whipped poor Tray till he was sore, and kicked and whipped him more and more. At this good Tray grew very red, and growled and bit him till he bled. Then you should have only been by, to see how Fred did scream and cry. So Frederick had to go to bed. His leg was very sore and red. The doctor came and shook his head, and made a very great to do, and gave him nasty physic too. But Good Dog Trey's happy now, he has no time to say bow wow. He seats himself in Frederick's chair, and laughs to see the nice things there. The soup he swallows sup by sup, and eats the pies and puddings up. So, as you can see, the format presents itself blatantly. A child would act in a certain way, usually dismoral or mischievous, and then the consequences will take place, creating a punishment for the central character that will work as the lesson the story wished to portray. Does this sound familiar to anything? Well, if you're British like myself, you'll know about a TV show called Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids. Now, even as a child, I used to think to myself, why the hell is this allowed on TV, especially for kids? Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids is the purest form of cautionary tale. In fear of repeating myself, I'll just describe the contents of an episode, and you can see what I mean. So, in the episode called Bessie or Messy, it focused around a girl who will never tidy her room, especially her laundry. This part is her misbehaviour. The mess gets so large that it allows her to enter into her laundry like a weird world of laundry, in which she finds a small gang of leprechauns who live there. She decides that she wants to live with the leprechauns and makes a deal with them which allows her to stay there. She wants to live there because they live in squalor. It's only the next day it's revealed that she'd agreed to be their housemaid and do all of the cleaning, when she states she never wishes to do this. They accuse her of going back on her word and reveal long blades from underneath the skin on their fingers, and inform her of how they like to eat flesh off the bone of humans. It's only when her brother, who loves cleaning, puts the clothes in a washing machine is it that she's saved and in turn not eaten alive. Intense, right? But you see, the thing is, I love this TV show, and so did everyone I knew. So maybe like we fear the dark because our ancestors did, children enjoy scary stories because, well, children always have. But where would this put shows like Billy and Mandy and Courage the Cowardly Dog? Because they're not entirely based around the subject of morality. For example, Courage the Cowardly Dog, the show consists of him, as stated by the title, a cowardly dog, and the perils he encounters with his owners. The main focus is usually how Courage manages to counteract the villains. The villain of the week, because it changes every week who the antagonist is, and how it goes unnoticed by Eustace and Muriel. But the show is dark, and it's very dark, and it's dark for one reason, and that's because people like it like that. But why do we like the scary things? Why do we enjoy going to the cinemas to watch the latest jump scare film Hollywood has thrown at us? For me, I reckon the thrill of a horror movie or a scary show comes from the feeling of unsettlement. Whether it's the nervousness instilled by a tense moment or the general disturbance an especially peculiar scene will force onto you. I feel like these shows create strong and potent emotions, and strong and potent emotions are important for creating memories. For example, if you think back upon the times you visited the cinema, and you probably remember the times that you loved it or the times that you hated it, there will be a wide array of films in between which you've forgotten, and that's because something that doesn't evoke an emotion does not create something memorable. And I feel like this could be true when it comes to shows that scared us as children. It's not that we enjoy them more than the milder ones that we've forgotten, even though in many cases we did, but it's that we remember them more vividly, and we remember them more vividly because of the fact they scared us. I don't think this would be a STYNET video if I didn't inform you on a topic which you didn't really need to know about. So I want to talk to you about a theory known as the Beast Within. The Beast Within is nothing more than a theory, but it is greatly linked to understanding why we enjoy horror films. It argues that beyond the thin veil of civility we represent to the world, in each and every one of us is a savage. When we view a monster on screen committing heinous acts, we enjoy them because we too would love to do this. We disapprove consciously of what's being committed, but we just feel if we could do it, we would. But not everyone enjoys a horror film, and for the most of it, we do root for the protagonist when we are viewing one. So maybe it's not that we approve of the acts committed by the monster, it's that we're interested in them. Take for example a serial killer. It's easy enough to be interested in a story of a serial killer who isn't recent or local. So it becomes interesting to research and read about a serial killer, a monster if you will. Now this can be applied to movies, where we want to learn and understand the serial killer's motives. With a horror movie, we actually get to. We get presented a monster, we get to watch the crimes he commits, and then we get to find out the motives and backstory. So in many ways, it could be in fact that these movies offer a solution to the mysteries that reality wouldn't offer us. So in fact, the discovery aspect is what draws us into these films. Does this apply to us as children with the TV shows we used to watch? Well, I think it does. So you're a kid, right? You're just a kid. And you have a low attention span and you enjoy cartoons. You've got a particular inkling for dark cartoons because you like the unfamiliarity of the characters and the way it makes you feel. But here you are watching your cartoon and the protagonist has encountered his problem for the episode, or he's run into the villain. And where in normal cartoons the problem will often be small or relating to hurting the feelings of a different character, in these dark shows the problems are much more serious. And they're scary. They're scary to you, a child who enjoys being scared. But not only are they scary, you're interested. You're invested into working out how the protagonist is going to overcome the problem at hand. And we've discussed one of the main attractions to a horror or monster movie is discovering the mysteries. But it's a cartoon. The problem is going to arise, be scary, and then be solved within 20 minutes. It makes for absolutely fantastic television. And I think we're just going to have to give it to ourselves and admit that even as children, we could understand this. Congratulations, you've made it to the end. Well done and thank you. It'd mean the world to me if you left a like, commented or subscribed. I'm absolutely ecstatic with the recent growth of this channel and hopefully it's just onward and upward from here. If you check the description down below, I'm going to leave a link to my Twitter where you can get updates on when the next video will be. Thank you very much and goodbye.